So we live on what's known as the New Madrid Fault Line. It's unfortunately one of the biggest fault lines in the world, which means that we are set up for a lot of seismic activity, which we saw today. We saw thankfully only a 3.7 in the Dyer County area, but this area is known for seeing some very historic earthquakes. In fact, we've seen some that are in the top 10 strongest in the history of earthquakes. A couple of them happened in 1811 and 1812. They were strong enough to even force the Mississippi River to run backwards, almost like a tsunami. It caused whirlpools, it caused instant waterfalls, which threw boats over, unfortunately. It also caused fissures, and then the river continued to flow, and it's actually how we have Reelfoot Lake today. That was created when the Mississippi River was running backwards. So the actual magnitude, it varies. Back then, of course, in the 1800s, they didn't have the seismic instruments that we have today. So based off of looking at the landscape, the way it looks now, and off of analysis and just talking to people, they estimate that that was about an 8.8. So that is a big time earthquake. It had people knocked to the ground. It also was making people sick. It was, the earthquakes were so strong. And this was a series of earthquakes that happened starting in December of 1811 through February of 1812. And just to tell you how far these would reach, the quakes caused bells to ring at churches in Boston. It woke up the president's wife in Washington, D.C. It took down brick walls in Cincinnati. And it didn't just stop with these main earthquakes. These continued, aftershocks, thousands of them a day for years. So definitely shaping the way that we know the Mid-South today. Of course, there's always the what if, what happens. So at this point, and unfortunately, we can never forecast when an earthquake will happen. So the best plan of action is just to have a plan in place for you and your family in the event that disaster did strike. Where would you go? What would you do? What if you didn't have communication? What if the roads were blocked? How would you get to one another? What would your plan be? Maybe that's something that you can discuss tonight over the dinner table.